Earlier this month, it was announced that NASCAR is dumping its playoff format that it's held onto for dear life since 2014. We did it, boys. We ended the toxic relationship. And now they're back with their ex?
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
But why did this happen? Changing the way NASCAR crowns its champion is a big deal after all. And furthermore, why are most NASCAR fans seemingly on board with this? Well, to put it gently, the playoffs were very, 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 very flawed. NASCAR's elimination-style playoff format has spent the last dozen or so years being the most controversial championship in all of sports. The TV rating would decline the most during playoff races, the racing etiquette was so bad that it looked like a demolition derby, team orders interfering with the contenders, mediocre drivers being bailed out by a single win, and the legitimacy of the championship being all but defenestrated. Almost every season after the last race, there was a heap of negative discussion regarding who won the championship. There were so many instances where a guy who was up at the front for the majority of the season, even the majority of the last race, would be not winning the championship over one bad race or one bad round. Some of the biggest examples: Joey Logano in 2015, the Big Three in 2018, Kevin Harvick in 2020, and 2025 when the camel's back finally broke. Connor Zilisch lost the title just because he finished second in the finale. He won 10 races that year. One day later, Kyle Larson won the title despite not having won a race in 6 months. And before you say in the comments, well, Larson would have won under the Winston format also. The playoffs were specifically designed so that you had to win late. I will say you don't have to win all the time to win the championship, but let's look back on why we're even here in the first place. In 2003, Matt Kenseth won the title with a traditional full-season points format, winning only a single race. His consistency was immense the entire year long, but the fact of the matter was he wasn't winning a lot, and it left a bitter taste in fans and the industry. Instead of coming up with a simpler answer, such as, changing the way points are distributed, offering more points to race winners, NASCAR thought it would be a much better idea to invent gimmicks.
I like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
The Chase for the Cup was created in 2004. The top 10 in points would have their points reset and face off in a new points battle over the last 10 races, with the driver in first being the champion. This would be the definitive championship format for the future, until it was changed in 2007, then 2011, then it mutated into eliminations in 2014, then stages in 2017. And then that all got scratched and brought back to a familiar form now. So how did the then Chase, now playoff system help legitimize the championship? Well, in 2023, Ben Rhodes won the truck title after winning only one race.
What a night.
In 2021, Daniel Hemrick won the O'Reilly Championship just because he won the last race in Phoenix. Oh, and here's the best one. Matt Crafton won the 2019 Trucks Championship despite winning 0 races. The first and only time this has happened in the Truck Series. So yeah, rewarding winning has gone very well. Years went by where people would call the champion illegitimate because he only won the title after 1 or 2 lucky races. And while some people may say any publicity is good publicity, I again refer you to this. The campaigns for a return to the full season format has never been louder up to this point. And as soon as it was revealed there would be changes to the format after 2025, fans jumped on it, left and right. Twitter regulars, popular YouTubers, and even my parents who watched the sport in the 2000s. Everyone demanded a return to full season points. Well then, what are we waiting for? NASCAR executives, partners, and media are adamant that this format that hasn't stuck with fans for over a decade is still worth investing. One of the other options was making the championship round expand to 4 races and there'd be 3 rounds instead of 4. The regular season champ might get some sort of first round bye, just complicating an already complicated process that they still wanted to do is crazy. But would you believe there was actually a compromise? Because the days of dumb eliminations and mid-round sandbagging are over because NASCAR has finally, rightfully, thrown the playoff system in the trash. Right next to ignition. So, what's in its place? A near identical version of the original Chase format.
With that, where we've landed is candidly that the Chase is back.
Let's break down how this format will work. After the first 26 races, the Chase field will be made up by the top 16 drivers in the standings, The higher your standing, the more points you'll receive after the reset. They will then compete against each other over the final 10 races of the season on 10 different tracks, and whoever has more points at the end of race 10 is the champion. This new system will also be implemented into the O'Reilly and Truck Series effective immediately, with just slight changes in length and field size. But I'm really glad that this isn't just a cup thing and all 3 series are getting rid of the playoffs. We don't have to call it playoffs anymore. I'd say this is a pretty straightforward format, a lot more so than before. So let's get into what's great about it before we get into what's bad. One of the biggest problems with the playoffs is that it had so many gimmicks attached to it that it was impossible to explain to a casual viewer. If you want to get new fans invested in your championship at the end of the year, it shouldn't be a chore to tell them how it works. You shouldn't need some random celebrity making a whole 5, 6, 7 minute video. Damn it, I said 6-7. Explaining how the champion is crowned. Thankfully, the new chase takes a lot of steps in the right direction. Playoff points are dead. The phrase is no more. You don't get awarded bonus points for winning a race anymore. This is huge. Now we don't have to follow 2 different types of points that somehow merged together later on. Points awarded are points awarded. End of. There is still a reasonable bonus if you win a race. You will now earn 55 points for winning as opposed to 40. Yes! We're placing more emphasis on winning in a more natural, more sensible way. I know people might have wanted an added bonus for leading laps, fastest lap, winning the pole. I'm okay with none of those being implemented for right now, just because it's important to establish a straightforward format right out the gate. And bonuses like that can lead to exploits. I mean, look at F1's fastest lap rule. Win and you're in. Automatic chase entry based on winning a single race is gone. Axed, killed. We will not be pressing F to pay respects because that was a terrible rule in practice. The fact that a 30-something place car could lock into the playoffs with a rain-shortened win, or you dump the leader on the last lap, it was a really bad look. Now if you want to make the chase, the only way is to be up front and stay up front. The track variety. This might change going forward since NASCAR has taken more swings at the schedule in recent years. I mean, they just cut the Roval for crying out loud. But the current lineup of tracks is a pretty good mix of short tracks and larger speedways. And also Talladega. And now that all the chase drivers will compete in all these tracks while in contention, it's a much better way to gauge a driver's all-around skill in the sport. You can't hold out for that one track that you're really good at. You need to run all 10 pretty well now. Lastly, the fact that this format is seemingly a crowd pleaser. This is a big help to ensure its success. You want your fans to get excited for the chase because they can then tell their friends and family and get them all excited for it. So the fact that there's a lot of positive chatter over this format is a way bigger deal than NASCAR may realize. You may think the new chase is a slam dunk, right?
Wrong!
16 drivers? 16? Something I never understood with the bracket playoffs was why there were so many drivers allowed in. After round 16, were you ever surprised at who got cut? Did you ever think to yourself, wow, I can't believe that Michael McDowell, Josh Berry, Paul Menard never went on a run? For a format that's supposed to showcase the best of the best, I don't see much reason in putting the 18th, 20th best driver in the conversation. 16 is way too many. Go back to the original 10, maybe 12 if you really want to. This is the equivalent of the NFL's 7th seed. Since its inception, all but one 7th seed has lost in the first round. Green Bay was the one exception in 2022, and really that's because it was the Cowboys. Something I haven't covered yet is one of the biggest arguments in favor of some kind of postseason, being that a chase or playoff format leads to more variety in the championship format. 3 of the last 4 champions drove a Team Penske Ford, and in the chase era, allow me to introduce you to Jimmy Johnson. 5 straight championships, a 6th one 3 years later, and then the 7th under the bracket playoffs. The top dogs are gonna stay at the top, no matter what, and even though it may seem boring in the moment, I don't want it any other way. I feel when good teams establish themselves as the ones on top throughout a whole season, it'll be way more fun to establish storylines and rivalries, with a very clear definition of who's the Davids and who's the Goliaths. Papa Cardinal, why is this on the negative page? Because I see what you're going to say later on. I see your future. The moment one guy runs away with the title or the champion by a significant margin and even locks it up before the final race, people are going to demand change. Chill! It is okay to have somebody run away with the title every now and then. F1's doing just fine. And when we see something like that, there's going to be no question over who the best driver of that season is. Nobody in their right mind would say that Max Verstappen doesn't deserve the 2023 title. Okay, we've covered both sides now, but I am still highly in favor of this new format. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a lot easier to understand. It may be a short-term loss just because you're not going to have those Game 7 moments anymore, but we were very oversaturated with Game 7 moments, so it's good to have a break. One more thing, just for fun, that I saw on Twitter, which was pretty funny. Somebody named Daniel made a list of every single Cup champion since 2000 under this chase format, and it's got some pretty interesting results. William Byron becomes a champion, Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth never win one, and Joey Logano is not a 3-time champion. He's a 4-time champion! Nobody tell the Joey haters he was gonna fare better under this format. Okay. Actually, one last thing. I do want to give a special thanks to Mark Martin. He's pretty much taken the role as the flag bearer for everybody who's wanted a change in the playoff format for so long, despite NASCAR executives being so adamant of keeping it. And I'm really happy that he was willing to step up to the plate for all of us and give NASCAR a chance to listen to what we had to say. You did us proud, Mark. You did us proud. So, what do you guys think of this new chase? Do you love it? Do you hate it? This year I will actually be making an effort to exist on this channel, because right after the Clash, we are going to make predictions of this chase field. We're going to be going over who I think is going to make it this 2026 season. It's going to happen, and it's going to be with a lot more effort, not like that playoff prediction last season, which I definitely got right, by the way. And as the championship, I'm going to have Christopher Bell winning. I should have stayed dead.
You see this here straitjacket? Brian Vickers not only needs to wear it, he also needs to be locked in a padded room and studied for scientific purposes, so that if anyone in the future suffers from Vickernism, they can be cured.
Vickernism? Do I dare ask you to go on?
Well, you have to start at the beginning, Steve.